Tom Parry, you're a man of the world.
Yes,
You're wearing a Nintendo 64 t-shirt.
I am on my worldly travels.
You're surrounded by video games.
Mm,
Would you like to tell us about some of them?
Sure.
It's Tom Matt Attack.
Hi.
Hi. What was that? Where did you? I mentioned you're a man of the world, and you're like, oh, hello there.
Hello. What did you want to ask me, Matthew? I feel I can get some sort of special treatment this week.
Do you feel like I've empowered you? Is that what you're saying?
Have you missed me, Matthew? Is that what it is?
I have, Tom.
1 week off and,
It's been so lonely in the shack without you. The fictional shack of our minds that doesn't actually exist is not a place we actually live in anymore. It's been cold, We're in Denmark.
It's been cold. It's been warmer than normal, hasn't it?
Been
The sun's been
actually.
out.
I was trying to paint a picture with words, but yeah, it's been actually okay in Denmark.
Yeah.
How was you? How were you doing back in the UK?
Fine. It was a flying trip, really, for a wedding. I did get to try a few games that I'd bought recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised with Dead Rising Chop Till You Drop on the Wii. I'd heard that this game, I remember when it came out, read a review, it said it's terrible, or avoid it. But actually it does a fairly decent job of a port of the 360 game, I thought.
So you're playing as Frank West? You're ready to run
Playing as Frank West improves on a few things as well.
Is the text very, very tiny so you can't see it?
No, the text isn't tiny at all. Some of the minor rotations of the original game seem to have been alleviated in this version. I'd say, for one thing, the aiming's like it is in Resident Evil 4 on the Wii, so that's better than it was on the 360. And overall, the menus a lot easier to navigate when characters talk to you. That guy who's always sending you information over the walkie-talkie, he doesn't interrupt you all the time when you're trying to do something, which is great. It's just like they've looked at the original game, they've seen they've had these little irritating things, and they fixed them.
Yeah.
Great. Also, you can save various points in the game.
Okay. So
and it doesn't go all the way back to the beginning.
Okay, that's good. That was something I was about to say. Does it go back to the
beginning? I don't think it does anyway, but the saving system seems to be a lot better implemented in this game. One thing I have heard, and this was a review I read, again, a long time ago, that some of the newer enemies are a little frustrating.
Okay.
Dogs and parrots.
Parrots?
You have to fight. There's a zombie dog at the beginning of the game. Do you remember that? The woman is trying to get her dog, and that's when the zombies come in. So that zombie dog is one of the enemies in the game.
Okay.
And parrots and such. So they're apparently quite irritating.
Zombie parrots. Yeah. Okay.
But I've not encountered them yet. On first impressions, it's rather good. And it's very inexpensive. And I think if you've got a Wii, you can do far worse than...
Pick that
up if you like Dead Rising. Funny, I've started Dead Rising so many times. It's so familiar to me now, that initial
flying in on
bit,
the helicopter, taking pictures. Yeah, I know the bit.
Because I got the one on PS4 recently as well, that version. Yep. So I'm playing a few things. Quantum of Solace on the PS2 is also very good.
Okay, interesting.
It's a unique version of the game. The game was also on PS3, I think, maybe Xbox 360, and that was a first-person shooter made by Treyarch, I think.
Okay.
Or Infinity Ward, one of the two of them.
I've never seen a PS2 Quantum of Solace game.
Well, it was a late release. It's actually a totally different game than all others. I think it was developed by Eurocom.
Okay.
And it's a third-person cover-based shooter, which is very James Bondy, and it's worth a go. Again, it's a very cheap game.
Wow.
So I'm going to give you those two recommendations, Matthew, of games you might have thought, crap, but no, actually not.
Two, from dare I say, what may be a new reoccurring segment called Parry's Bargain Bucket.
Boyley's Bargain Bucket sounds much better.
Bargain Bucket sounds a lot better, but
Parry's Pickups, you see.
I've not been digging through that bargain bucket.
You have?
Well, I did at a flea market today, but I mean...
Go and tell us what your spoils of your flea market.
Well, as regular listeners of the podcast already know, thank you for removing that one from the pile, Thomas. That was my copy of Zelda Twilight Princess, which I lent you.
And then I got Breath of the Wild and never touched it again.
You never looked back. Yeah. You actually gave that back to me today and said, hey, here's a Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, if you can actually dare to go back and play this. And I was like, I think I probably could. I think it'd be all right.
Everything's so stiff, though. Link's stiff trotting around is quite weird to behold after playing the other one.
Please don't Google Link stiff. I think it'll bring up some
don't.
interesting search results.
No.
Anyways, I went to a flea market today, as I usually do. This is one of the bigger ones here in Jutland in Denmark, called Stumper Market. And essentially, it's got a silly name. But essentially, it's a big indoor market that happens, I think twice. It used to happen 3 times a year. Now I think it's just twice, one in the summer and one in early winter. So one around now and one around November. But it draws people in from all over. They have, as you're going in, like currency conversion in Swedish crowns, in Norwegian crowns and euros, because people from Germany, people from Denmark, Norway and Sweden all attend this thing because it's a big car show.
It's a big one. Oh.
Yeah. So it's 2 halls of like car things and car parts for vintage cars. And that's what gets the audiences in. However, there's also 4 big halls just full of flea market stuff. It's all car boot affair. So it's, you have your regular traders, which I know the people who sell retro games there now, and I say hello to them and they say hello back in the same like, oh, it's you again kind of way.
Hello.
And so I had a wander around, and the usual seller that we actually bought off of in Weiler a couple of months back. It was the same older chap with crates full of PS2 games and a load of Game Boy games. So I foraged through there. It was 8 original Game Boy and Game Boy Color games for 100 krona. So I picked up some Japanese titles. Nothing too exciting. Some Doraemon educational games. 1 or 2 of the Hudson board games and a pachinko game or 2. Just because... Yeah, nothing really exciting, to be honest. But... some stuff that was there, and I was like, well, I don't own this. One of them's an RPG that I can't remember the name of, in the vein of Pokemon. So I was like, okay, I'll give this a spin as well. But
that sounds interesting from the off.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not going to be anywhere near as good. It's one of
like
these...
the Metabots one?
Yeah, it's like Metabots and like Telefang and all this kind of stuff that came out that no one was really interested in and didn't set the world on fire the same way as Game Freak and the Pokemon Company managed to do themselves.
Did any of these games you bought today set the world on fire?
Well, there were some interesting PS2 and Wii games. Firefighter FD18 being the one you are pointing at, which, unfortunately, I don't think set the world on fire because it seems to be quite an obscure PS2 game.
It's about putting out fires, so there you go.
But
read the back.
I need to read the back of the box. Because, you see, Tom, Firefighter FD18 is not just a game about putting out fires. It's got the most realistic firefighting experience ever in a video game. That's granted, right? I mean, there are very few choices. There's the Fireman for SNES. There's Firefighters on the Game Boy. There's that one you bought for the Wii.
It's just called Firefighter, I think, on the Wii.
But in this one, Tom, you fight infernos with a water hose, fire extinguishers, and other equipment, which, in the world's most realistic firefighting experience, you would expect. But also, for a PS2 game made by Konami, it's got the realistic depiction of fire included.
Realistic depiction.
It just says realistic depictions of fire, including backdrafts and chemical explosions. Not the most, unfortunately. It is the most realistic firefighting experience.
They didn't want to say that, did they?
No, I guess not, because as we all know,
confident about their graphical prowess in this game. As it says, I think they say graphics that push the PS2 to its very limits.
It does indeed say that, yeah. Firefighter FD18 pushes the PlayStation 2's graphic capabilities to its limits and captures all the realism and experiences of a real-life firefighter.
Now, we joke, but this is actually, I think I have heard this game is good.
Yeah, but isn't it unsurprising, Tom, when it's got a rich story that revolves around the themes of love and justice? I mean, that's exactly what I want from my firefighting.
Right there, I think you have what can be called, in the trade, a hidden gem.
Perhaps, yeah. Not so hidden gem I picked up. These were 5 for 100 krona, so I picked these up. Firefighter FD18. Black, the seminal PlayStation 2 shooter, which I've heard nothing but good things from you and other people.
I played it on the Xbox.
But I hear it's a decent game.
It is a decent game, and as I've said to you before, better with your own custom soundtracks, but you'll have to just make do.
This was made by EA. Oh, it's Criterion.
Made by
Criterion. Yeah, I couldn't
remember. It's like over the top. It's Criterion's version of a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
What they did for racing games, they did for shooters. Everything is huge, over the top, explosions. Yeah. It's great. It's really a great game.
I'll give it a look. I hear it hasn't aged very well, but I'll have a look. I picked up Shin Megami Tensei Digital Devil Saga. I've been playing a lot of Persona 5, as I will talk about later in this podcast. And I own the second of the Shin Megami Tensei Digital Devil Saga games, which I bought in Prague a long, long time ago for next to nothing new. And I've actually not been seeing these, or Lucifer's Call, which is the other Shin Megami Tensei game on the PS2. So while I see them, I'm just tending to grab them, even though I'm not trying to grab PS2 games. I was also kind of afraid that he may have asked more for it, and it turns out that it had a 75 krona sticker on it, so he's probably intending it, and he put it in the wrong box. Oh, well, that's how it goes. You should have checked. Also picked up Astro Boy, the video game, which is not
for the Wii,
the PS2 and Game Boy Advance hidden gem, to use the industry.
I don't know if the
terms.
PS2 game's a hidden gem, but the advanced one.
No, I hear the PS2 game's all right. It's also made by Sega. It's supposed to be okay.
I didn't know.
I did actually see that there today, but it was 100 krona, and I was like,
based off the movie.
It is. It looks all right on the back. Looks like it's your usual 2D side-scrolling shooter affair.
Developed by High Voltage Software, did the Conduit on the Wii. Also, some fighting game on the Wii as well that I've played before. They did quite a lot for the Wii. Also, they did a few of those PS2 Disney tie-ins, I think, or platform games.
That would make sense. But I mean, it was a shmup. I've not heard of it. I was like, okay, I'll pick that up as part of this deal where I'm essentially getting it for free anyways as the 5th game. So that was all right. Then I dropped you a text message and said, hey, is there anything you want me to keep a lookout for? Oh, yeah, shit. Completely skipped over Blastworks.
Which I think you want to get out of cellophane before it decomposes.
I do, yeah, because that's rather battered. Fortunately, I have some really shitty Tiger Woods games lying around that the case will be swapped out for, because look at this. This is the most grimy factory-sealed game I've ever seen. Man, I should send this in for grading. I wonder what I'd get. Blastworks, though, is Build, Trade, Destroy.
And I bet we've mentioned in the podcast before.
I believe we have, yeah. It's a game where you essentially build your own shoot-em-ups, right?
Yeah, I bought this a long time ago, and I've never played it.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm going to pull it out of the cellophane now.
Oh,
poor
breaking
red
the
seals.
seal.
Look at that. Oh, God, I'm a monster. Fortunately, the game inside looks like it's in better nick than the boxes. I'm a big fan of shmups. As long time listeners to the podcast will know, I've been curious about picking this up since last time we saw this guy, which was a good few months ago now, and I was hoping he'd still have it. He had plenty of Wii games last time we saw him. Yeah. This time, not so many, only a handful, and they were all in this condition, so I guess that's the only reason it was still there. So, not bad for 100 krona. Yeah. I give you a text message with your Nintendo 64 t-shirt on, which to me makes it look like you're going for a full set of Nintendo 64 games.
You think I'm a massive N64 fan? Well, you're right.
Yes. But
you're not right about me going for a full set, no.
Yet.
No.
I'm just going to keep slipping you these games you need for your Christmas presents, and then eventually you'll come to the point where you're just like, well,
you're going to have to get me some 15. Pretty crap games.
Oh, well, Tom. I've already given you Clay Fighters. I think the barrel can be scraped lower, though.
Fine.
So there was a load of N64 games there. I dropped you a message to say, hey, you after anything? A PS2 copy of
Shrek Super Slam.
Yeah, it was something that you have mentioned previously, and I was like, okay, why the fuck do you want that? And you said, well, it's kind of like a Smash Brothers. Oh, it's Power Stone, right? It's Power Stone-esque.
Yeah, but it's on Smash Bros. Levels of tournament play, apparently.
Which is super interesting to me.
I hear.
But if I do see that, I will pick it up. It is a game I've often seen. It's probably a game I've owned at some point and then just either thrown to a charity shop when I moved from the UK.
I'm not desperate for it, but if you find it cheap, I'd like to pick it up.
But the other game that you were after was one you've actually previously mentioned on this podcast that you went to Aarhus for, I believe, the last podcast.
Yeah, I was very disappointed. I went especially to find this game. I'd seen it in Epic Panda in Aarhus here in Denmark. Nope, it had gone. Oh, how distraught I was. I had to buy 3 packets of Pokemon cards.
To console yourself.
and that clown game, Crazy Clown Chase on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game we are speaking of is Top Gear Hyperbike.
Yeah.
A game which came to my attention only quite recently. I didn't know it existed until... I think there's a guy on the internet
Yeah.
I think there's a guy on the internet, right? Who
Right.
does N64 reviews. I think his name is Glenn Plant. I might be wrong. But he does great reviews, and this game was brought to my attention through one of his videos. It's developed by Snowblind Studios, who also did other Top Gear games on the N64, but they're all driving games. This is a biking game.
Yeah, I was quite
biking. What do you say? Riding game?
I would say it is a motocross game.
It's off. Well, it's not all off road though.
No.
No.
Okay, interesting.
And this guy said it's probably better than Excitebike.
Okay, interesting.
It's probably the best motorcycle game on the N64.
Very high bar to reach over.
So there you go.
Okay, interesting. I believe it or not, I was flicking through these N64 games and I was looking. I saw maybe 2 of the 3 I actually still want for the N64. One of those was Mischief Makers, which I'm still like, should I have picked up Mischief Makers while I was there?
On the N64?
On the N64, yeah.
Do you want a lot for it?
125 kroner. Seems like
money well spent.
An all right price. I didn't get it though because I'd already, with the Game Boy games and with these other wonders, I ended up paying like 350 kroner. So I was like, that's all I want to spend at this flea market. I would have got it. I've been looking for it for a while, but the timing was not right. If they had not had Shin Megami Tensei and this Firefighters game, I probably would have left the PS2 games as well. But there we go. I picked up that for you. I was quite surprised while flicking through these N64 games, Tom. And the other game being Jet Force Gemini, which of course everyone knows is a quality rare experience.
One you have already?
I do not have.
On the rare collection, though.
Yeah, exactly. I could play it. I have the means if I wanted to, but I hear that version's not very good.
I don't know. It's all right. It's a bit weird because obviously it was developed for the N64. The controller on the 360, that's the 360. Xbox One's a bit different. Yeah. That was initially a bit jarring.
Yeah. So I was flicking through them. I realised there's actually 4 Top Gear titles on the N64. There's Top Gear Rally 1 and 2. There's this, and there's Top Gear Overdrive. And I was just like, why the fuck are there 4 Top Gear games? I didn't realise Top Gear was that big a franchise in like 96, 97.
But it's not anything to do with the show.
Really?
Yeah, it's just the name
Is it
of
the
game.
magazine, though?
No.
Because there was a Top Gear magazine, because that logo is consistent. I assume that.
I didn't know this was related to the TV show.
I assume that is
nothing about the BBC attached to these games whatsoever.
But the Top Gear magazine is not related to the BBC either.
Okay.
Top Gear magazine came before. Yeah, because I saw that and I was like, wow, there's a weird consistency between these things. Like, why is there a Top Gear license that's that big? On a library of like 260-something games for the PAL releases, why are there 4 of them Top Gear?
Well, Mischief Makers, by the way, is very affordable.
Yeah, exactly, which is why I wasn't desperate to pick it up. I did check eBay.
It's fairly common.
I would have got it. I still would have paid the 12, 13 quid for it because it was in hand, and I was like, well, I don't see this game very often.
Top Gear games, though, the ones you mentioned, played them all, have them all very good.
Yeah, I hear. Isn't there like a regional variant of Overdrive, or was that something else in the States?
There might be. I don't know.
I think there's an Australian only release that is Overdrive. I'm not too sure about that. Don't quote me on it. Anyways, Tom Parry, while ruffling through the Super Nintendo games.
How do you ruffle through Super Nintendo games, Matthew? That's great.
Me
you're holding one.
Yes, I am. Weird that. I picked up a seminal classic for the Super Nintendo, revered by many. The first game actually worked on by previously of Naughty Dog, now of an EA studio working on a Star Wars game, as Amy Hennig, the lady behind the Uncharted series.
Oh, yes, I know.
And that is Michael Jordan, Chaos in the Windy City. I was a fucking terrible platformer starring Michael Jordan
it's terrible,
throwing
is it?
basketballs. I played it on an emulator while I was doing my Shaq Fu review, and I thought, this game is fucking garbage.
But you bought it anyway.
It was 50 kroner, and I was like, I'm going to give that another shot on the actual Super Nintendo and see if I change my mind. Knowing that Amy Hennig is actually the person behind it, I imagine it's probably got some quite decent gameplay mechanics. Then again,
you know about the graphics? It was a nice looking game, at least.
It doesn't look bad. It's not the worst thing I've seen on the Super Nintendo. Michael Jordan is quite realistic, probably rotoscoped. And the backgrounds were all grey and dismal. It kind of reminded me a bit of the Waterworld game for the Super Nintendo. But then again, it is published by Ocean, so that would also make sense.
And he has various basketballs with different abilities, I imagine.
Yes, he does, Tom. There's a fire one, there's an ice one. That's all I saw when I played it and was like, this is not very good. So I turned it off.
Basketball players do rather well out of these sort of things, don't they? Like movies and games and such.
They do, yeah. Some podcast I was listening to, probably Giant Bomb, was talking about this within the week. And that's why I was just like, oh shit, actually, I'll grab that game while I see it.
But there's several Michael Jordan games and films, and Shaq as well.
Yes.
Games, films.
They were the only 2 NBA players licensed not to be in the NBA games. So if you bought an NBA game, you would not get Michael Jordan or Shaq. There's been recently discovered, because they thought he was lost to time, an NBA Jam with Michael Jordan in it, and he's amazing.
Of course.
But they thought that arcade build was lost to time because he threatened to sue them. So they took him out of the game. Very interesting story, no? But I'll give it a go. I'll have a look. I'll see what it's like on an actual Super Nintendo and let you know. I may subject you to it.
I can't imagine it improves it greatly.
No, I doubt it. But hey, with the proper controller in my hand, anything can happen.
And just before I arrived here, I stopped by GameStop.
You did?
Stopped by GameStop, believe it or not.
You weren't stopped by GameStop.
No,
you weren't accosted by them.
I actually went inside and then stopped in my tracks when I saw Gravity Rush 2 for 149 kroner.
Which is a bloody good price.
Because you said you were the other day and it was 599.
Yeah, I nearly bought it last Friday for 600 kroner, and I was like, I'm not paying that for it. That's a fool's errand.
It's a fairly recent game, so it came out this year.
It did, yeah. In January the 26th, I believe. That game is almost 3 months old.
I'm rather happy with that. Brand new copy, 149.
Yeah.
Also, even more exciting.
Oh!
No, not really. But there was a gap in my Xbox One collection for a hockey game.
Yes.
And now that has been filled with...
Tom Parry has been awake at night going, oh God, how will I play hockey on the Xbox One, the system I use
Because I've got to be
day.
able to play a hockey game on every system I own.
Of course.
NHL 15.
Cool.
Here. Now, this was the winner of 26 awards. Sports Game of the Year, franchise winner. Don't know what those 26 awards were.
Interesting. Yeah.
The next generation of hockey.
Is just 26 awards in general. One is a franchise winner, one is Sports Game of the Year.
One is franchise, it repeats
says
itself.
That, yeah, interesting. I wonder where it won those. It does not source it. They're probably like some blogs.
And that was 19 kroner.
Yeah, not bad.
And
£2 game.
I'm missing a basketball game now. So that's the next thing.
How will you cope? How will you cope?
I don't know.
I think you should fix it. Anyways, you been playing anything else?
Let's talk about what we've been playing, maybe, shall we?
Okay, right then. Shall we wrap up on a game that I've been talking about now for the last 3 podcasts in a row?
Nier?
Yes.
I promise. It's nearly the last podcast we
promise.
talk. Actually, it won't be, because then you play...
I'm not going to play Automata for a while. I want to play Yakuza 2 before I play Automata. I picked it up as a...
Just throw Yakuza 2 in there like a brand new release.
Oh man, I can't wait to play Yakuza 2. If I'd have felt that I wouldn't have rushed Yakuza 2 to play Persona 5...
Yakuza 1.
I would... No, I'm saying if I received Yakuza 2 while I was already playing Nier.
Oh.
I was then trying to beat Nier so I could play Yakuza 2. Yeah. However, Nier requires multiple playthroughs. And so I had 4 or 5 days in which I could have tried to blitz Yakuza 2.
Oh, I see.
I don't want to do that, Tom. Because I enjoyed the Yakuza 1 so much that I'm like, okay, I want to sit down and I want
Sounds hard work being Matthew Boyle playing video games. I prefer my more leisurely, laid-back approach.
Well, I'm flaunting an idea, and that is essentially that I will play no video games in great length the way I am right now for the next year in 2018.
In 2018?
In 2018, I will not play any new console releases. I
don't believe that could ever happen.
I've done it before. I've done it a couple of times where I've
taken
a year off gaming.
That means you're not going to be buying any games.
I will probably be buying games. I will if I see PS2 or retro games, I will buy them.
Buying any new games, like a new game comes out that's eagerly anticipated, don't know what it'll be. So let's say Sea of Thieves. If it doesn't come out this year, which probably will.
I don't know what to be honest with you, like it'll have to wait until after E3 before I decide 100% to do this because I don't know what's coming out.
What about Switch games?
Like what? Mario's coming out this year?
Next year. Maybe E3 they'll reveal some corkers and then you won't be able to buy them next year.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe not.
A year? You've just got a Switch and you won't buy any new games for it next year?
Maybe. I haven't decided yet. Maybe it's like 6 months or something. But there's a load of stuff I want to
just slow
get
down
done.
rather than go to the extreme of saying I'm going to buy anything.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm just I'm looking at what I have on my shelves at the moment, and I'm like, well, I've got some insanely good games here that I'm not playing.
But you'll get through them quicker than I will, for instance.
Yeah, but I mean, that comes at a cost of time, and there's a lot of stuff I want to do. There's books I want to read. There's things I want to write. There's things I want to create.
I think it's
in design.
Fair to say you should slow it down.
Yeah, but before that, I've got 120 hours of Persona to go through. Anyways, I was looking at Nier and going, okay, I've beaten the first ending. I've finished the game. Isn't that nice? Next 10 minutes, by the way, if you're planning on playing Nier for the Xbox 360, spoilers.
What am I going to do?
Well, are you really going to play 40 hours of an RPG?
Probably not anytime soon. Although I can do that on Pokemon.
Are you going to play a game through 4 times?
Probably not. Will this be terrible for me if I do decide to do that one day? All those fun surprises that I imagine it throws up will be ruined.
Perhaps.
Okay. You can talk about it, but try and keep it.
I want to go into detail of why I think Nier is perhaps one of the best games on the 360.
But will I still feel it's one of the best games on the 360 if you tell me all the things about it right now?
Oh, maybe not, but I mean, I say this to you in the nicest possible way.
Maybe we just shouldn't talk about Nier. Maybe we should just leave it at that and say, play Nier. Trust me, play Nier. And then just mention briefly why. So not to spoil it.
Oh, right, okay. Nier has multiple I can't tell you why you should play Nier without telling you why you should play Nier.
Just don't go overboard.
Right, okay. So, essentially, Nier, you play it the first time. You get the super happy ending, like you've gone through everything. Okay.
I'll probably just play it the once, won't I?
Yeah, you probably will, You, Grimoire Weiss, and all of your friends and your daughter, you find them and you save them from the Shadow Lord, and it's all well and good. You get a thing pop up then saying you can play through the game a second time with extra narrative. So you create a save file that has like ending A, the same way that Nier Automata does. Then you start, and Kane, the girl who's with you the entire time, she is frozen in some kind of like rock halfway through the game, and you unfreeze her as the start of the second half of the game, because the game's split in 2 halves, because there's a 5-year gap. So you unfreeze her, but the game actually starts with you unfreezing her, but before that you read a very, very long text sequence telling you about her life and why she is the way she is, and which is half shade, so she is one of these creatures. And it explains to you how that happened and why that happened. And you're like, oh wow, this is kind of dark. Like, poor girl, she's been through a lot, even though she just seems like a very one-dimensional character on the first playthrough. However, the second playthrough, you beat all these bosses and you go through all these fights and stuff. There is a huge revelation at the end of the first playthrough, is that essentially all of you and all of the people you have met throughout that game are not human beings. You are shells of humanity that were created to house the souls of human beings after this cataclysm that happens at the start of the game. And the shades you've been killing are actually the souls of humans. So you've been you were created to save humanity, but you've actually been destroying the remnants of humanity the entire time.
Oh, you're not holding back here.
And then the second playthrough, then when you've realised this, you're like, oh my fucking god. All of the boss fights you fight, all of the shades, all of like these things you were like, man, this thing's pure evil. It gives them backstory. So you realise not only have you been killing human beings, but you've been killing like the ghost of a child and the ghost, like all of these reasons. You see the other side of the story from the Shades' perspective almost, and it's crazy.
I like that idea a lot.
It's very good. It turns the game completely on its head. I understand why, if the same thing is happening in Nier Automata. The Yoko Taro, the creator of these games, the Drakengard series, is getting so much praise.
So then you play through it with this knowledge?
You play through it and you see these cutscenes that aren't in the game the first time round, where it shows you the perspective of the Shades, and it gives you their backstory, and you see what they were doing. And it talks about their feelings and like why they are doing what they are doing, and it gives them justification almost. And it's kind of the Gundam story of like, hey, war is bad, you know, it's just saying conflict isn't the answer to these things, because these things have feelings and thoughts and loved ones themselves. And then you play through a third time, and essentially it's just like, hey, we'll give you an extra ending. So it adds a bit more to it, and that the shade inside of Kane breaks out, and you have to fight her as a penultimate end boss. And essentially you have two choices. The first one is you kill her, so this person you've had the entire time, or you sacrifice your own existence to save her life.
Oh, the noble thing to do.
By sacrificing your own existence, you delete your 40-hour saved game, so you can never play Nier again. So to get the good ending, you have to go, cool, I'm done with this game, and delete your fucking save game. Is the most amazing thing I ever...
Well, you have to... It deletes it for you, I guess.
It deletes it off of your hard drive.
Yeah.
Like, every file of your Nier save goes.
And then gives you an ending.
And then gives you an ending. And then it says, thank you for playing Nier. And then the only option is new game.
Well, do you feel like you need to play it again now?
No.
No.
100%. Like, but I put 30, 40 hours into it to get there. And
what was it like playing the same game through several times?
The second time wasn't so bad, because the second time, like I said, there were all these narrative hooks and stuff in the story that changed it up a little bit. Yeah. The third time, to be honest with you, you're so overpowered because your levels carry over.
Yeah.
You could do the third playthrough in like 3-4 hours maybe.
Yeah.
It's just you go in, you know where you need to go, you just blitz through, you kill everything, you can do some side quests along the way if you want to. But it's mainly a mission to get to the end and buy the weapons you haven't bought, because that's what unlocks ending C and D. And yeah, like I can't think of a game that's done something like that.
Very bold, yeah.
Very bold, of like, okay, you have to come to terms with the fact that you are... If you want the good ending, you need to say, I'm done with this game and back away from it. There are some sneaky workarounds in terms of, like, you could save to another memory stick or whatever if you wanted to before the end save, and then it would just erase the data that's on that storage device. Yeah. But that kind of felt a bit like cheating. So I was like, well, I have a playthrough B.
Because what use is it, though?
No, exactly. And I mean... Am I really going to go back and beat like side quests that are just like fetch quests for achievements? No, I'm probably not. Like, I got a lot of them achievements. I was pretty close to a 100% thing on it, but I don't need to do those side quests. For me, that was extra content that
And how much did this game cost you?
This game cost me £6.
Wow.
I know. I'm hoping there are similar twists to genre and similar twists to how bold Yoko Taro is with Nier Automata. From what I hear, it seems that he does a lot of amazing things with that game, which is why I'm very excited to play that as well. But it won't be for a while yet.
You have played the beginning of the game, though.
I have, yeah. I played it yours. We talked about it in this podcast. Very excited for it. I wanted to buy it as a show of, hey, please make more of these games.
I think the game's done well.
Yes, it did seem to.
I think it's probably done well than Star Fox.
Yeah,
done better.
Hopefully,
I say.
You know, some
I
money
say this because in the sale today at GameStop, Star Fox was 100 krona.
Yeah, and there was like 8 copies on the shelf.
And Mike messaged me the other day to say Star Fox is like 12 quid at game.
Yeah.
You know, do you want a copy? I'm like, I've already got it.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's well worth that money, by the way.
It's worth a tenner, yeah, definitely.
Oh, for sure. It is pretty great when you get into it, as I've said on the podcast before.
I'm not the biggest fan of it, but then again, if I'd paid a tenner for it, I think my expectations would be a bit lower. It does
make me concerned, though, that Nintendo might not want to touch Star Fox again for a while because of this.
We'll see.
That would be a terrible shame.
I think it would too. Never mind. That's how it goes. What else have you been playing, Tom Parry?
Oh, yes, let me just very quickly refer to my list of what I've been playing, because, again, like usual, I've been playing lots of different things. You know me, Matthew.
I do.
I do that. I play lots of different things. So, I can recommend the game Candleman. Not play very much of it, but I think I mentioned a podcast before. It's a platform game where you play a candle.
Right.
And you have to get to... The levels are quite small. You just have to get to a certain point. But the strategy is in the fact that unless you're lit, you can't see. You hold down a button to stay lit. You can only stay lit up for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Until you reach a checkpoint.
Okay. Okay. So you need to
so you have to get to the next checkpoint to light up all the... And the idea is, in the level, there's so many other candles you must light up.
Yeah.
You don't have to light them all up, but it tallies them, so you've only half completed the level if you only got 5 candles before you reach the end of it. So it's quite a simple concept.
Yeah.
But it's such a great concept, and it's very well done. It's got nice graphics. It's very cool. Of course, the lighting plays a huge part in the game as well.
Yeah.
Not played too much of it, so I can't tell you any more than that, really, at the moment. But it's well worth looking into, and as far as I'm aware, it's an Xbox One exclusive, which hasn't received much fanfare. So I just wanted to do my part and say it's worth checking out Candleman on the Xbox One. I might dust off
my Xbox One controller and give that a look.
Yeah.
There's a few games released recently that I wanted to play, but most of them are on Steam.
Check out some videos of it and see what you think. I think you'll get a good gist of what it's like from that. I've also been playing a little bit of Forza 6.
Yeah.
My friend Gareth, I bought it for him here in Denmark. Found it for 100 kroner.
Yeah.
So he's very happy to pay that for him when I brought it back for him. And I do like the Forza games. I will say one thing about Forza, though. Playing it on my own, I tend to do a tournament or something, just 4 races, which can take quite a while depending on how many laps and what the tracks are like. And then I'm like, I can't do this anymore. You know, it kind of gets like, yes, cool, love it, but that's enough for now.
Yeah.
Because it is sort of samey. Especially when I was doing this whole tournament of 4 races and they're all in the dark. And so they're all nighttime races. Did you have to race
to a certain point to light a candle? Or?
No, not at all. Might make it more interesting. But it was fine, you know, I enjoyed it. But my car, it's like my car I wanted to enter wasn't powerful enough to win the races. And the game told me that. It said, do you want to auto upgrade it? I was like, yeah, I want to play with this car because I don't want to buy another car right now. And then it was so good, the car was, that it was very easy to win all the races.
Yeah.
You know, it was only down to me crashing a couple of times that I had to restart.
Yeah.
But I really love the gameplay of Forza, and I really like playing it, but I can only play it for so long before I get a little bit tired of it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I love playing multiplayer more than single player.
Yeah, okay.
SmackDown vs. Raw on the PSP. This is 2006. I was eager to play a portable wrestling game. Been watching a lot of wrestling lately, playing a lot of wrestling games. Needed to play a more traditional wrestling game on the go.
I actually went to see, watch WrestleMania at our friend Sam's.
I imagine it was a good night.
Monday. Yeah, it was not too bad.
Yeah, I was travelling at the time WrestleMania was going on.
Yeah.
Coming back from the UK. And I heard The Undertaker is retiring.
Yeah, it seems that way. I didn't actually see that match because WrestleMania is actually like 5 hours long.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just like, man, this is a very long thing.
Do you know who he was fighting? I can't remember.
He was fighting a guy who looks like Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones. I can't remember his bloody name. I'm not a fan of wrestling. I go for the banter and a few beers.
Oh, Roman Reigns.
That's the boy, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, SmackDown vs. Raw in 2006 on the PSP is a fine portable wrestling game.
It's a fine.
Based, of course, on the console version of that game, slightly cut down to work on the PSP, but it doesn't really sacrifice a lot. And if you do like wrestling, this is, I imagine, a very affordable game to pick up now for your PSP. PSP, for me, still remains possibly my favourite portable console of all time, just because I spent most time with the PSP, and I've had some of my favourite portable game experiences from that. Pokemon not included, of course. I picked up Res Infinite, which was on sale.
Yes, 150 kroner, so like 15 quid, I guess.
Love Res, and it just reminded me how good it is and how easy it is to play, how it's sublime. I think sublime is the right word.
Yes,
for Res, because you can just sort of sit back and let it wash over you.
Yes.
It's not the most demanding game to play, the least at the beginning of the game.
The boss can be quite tough at the end.
But it's just a wonderful, incredibly well-made experience, which is still unique right now. And it looks very nice still.
Yeah.
I remember it looked very nice on the Dreamcast because it was very, high-res even back then.
Yeah.
High-res. But having it in widescreen, filling up home, nice big telly, really great. And the vibration on the PlayStation controller is intense.
Yes.
Yeah, I know why they had that little vibration pack for the PS2.
I'm going to look for those when I'm in Japan because I really want to play it with it.
Because, it really does add to it. Shantae, Risky's Revenge, I was a little disappointed because every time I see Shantae and I think it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
I've previously played The Pirate's Curse on the Wii U.
Yeah.
And again, nice looking game. The pixel art in Risky's Revenge, which was originally a DS game.
Yes.
DSi downloadable game. Is beautiful, and at times it looks like Metal Slug level.
Yes,
beautiful graphics. And when the action hots up and I'm doing stuff, I think it could be rather enjoyable. I don't like the slower, methodical pace to it and the talking. I feel it's a bad idea because you can get so pumped up doing the action stuff, and then you're asked to stop.
Yeah.
And before you can really get any momentum going or any flow, you have to stop again and do all this talking. And this is the beginning of the game. This is all I'm commenting on right now, the beginning of the game. But my experience of it was, it's a little bit like playing Metal Slug, right? And yeah, it's really good. And then stop. Oh, tap a button for about 3 minutes and then move on to something and maybe wander around and not realise where you're meant to go and kind of go, I just wish this game would grab me and have a little bit more momentum. It's the kind of games I like. Maybe it's just not suited to my interests.
So, Tom Parry, I may have a game for you. How do you feel about doing that for 120 hours?
You're going to talk about Persona 5.
I am, yes.
Go on.
So, long-time listeners will know, as well as Schmaps, I'm a big fan of the Japanese role-playing game. Persona 5 is one of those. It has recently been released from the good folks at Atlas. I didn't actually get it on the day of release because my local GameStop screwed my copy. They sold my pre-order, which was rather annoying. Fortunately, it meant that I got 100 kroner off it, so I only paid 39 quid, I guess, for it in the long run. So that was all right. In the grand scheme of things, I probably didn't have enough time to play it on Tuesday anyways to get properly stuck into it. But I've played, I think somewhere in the region of about 7-8 hours now. I'm still in the first dungeon. Because, as you know, Persona is a JRPG set in a Japanese high school. You are a new kid who's come to this school, who is a nameless protagonist. And even though his name is Akira Kunsaga or something like that in canon. But anyway... you go to the school, some weird stuff is happening, and there's incredibly, like, deep storylines to it. And I won't get into it because this game is so new that perhaps people won't have played it. Very deep storyline. Everyone is an asshole to the main character in a way that I can't really wrap my head around.
Are we like Animal Crossing?
No. Well... You've been sent to a new school because you committed a crime, and so your parents kicked you out. The school kicked you out because you had a criminal record, and you were then sent to the only school that would accept you in the Tokyo area, and you're staying with a guy who he knows your parents through someone else, and so he agreed to take you in because he was living in the area. And he's an asshole to you. And, like, you go to the school and your teacher's like, well, he's got a criminal record, and they're assholes to you. And, like, all of the kids are like, you can see speech bubbles, like, of them whispering about you while you're walking down the corridor. And you're like, the thing that he did is a very noble thing to do. And it's like, why are you... like, I understand why the kids are all whispering, because they don't know the circumstances. And, someone tells you, oh, man, this new kid's fucking trouble, then the whole world alights, and that goes on. But it's all about your interactions within the school, and it's taken on a day-by-day basis.
So far, sounds intriguing to me. It's not your run-of-the-mill RPG, is it?
No, it is 100% not your run-of-the-mill RPG.
It actually has a mature storyline.
Very much so. And so you start getting embroiled in, like, scandals at the school and stuff, and then you start making new friends there who are also kind of outcast from the main society of the school, who are also dealing with their own issues, which are incredibly heavy. And it's very angsty, don't get me wrong, but the story is very enjoyable. However, my main complaint at the moment is I feel like with Persona 4, I was given a lot more free reign of like, hey, cool, these are the mechanics, do whatever the hell you want. And just go at it and go beat the dungeons. But here, it seems like certain days mean I can go into the dungeon for a certain length of time to do very specific tasks and then get out of the dungeon again, and I'm not taking down the boss. I don't really know how I feel about that at the moment. Seems to slow the gameplay down and seems to be why this game is 120 hours as opposed to the 60 to 80 that Persona 4 generally takes.
Okay.
All of the usual Persona things are in there, such as the ability to increase your strength and your knowledge and all this kind of stuff. You still have the little weird like pop quizzes and things while you're in class. You still talk with your friends to increase your relationship status with your friends and whatever. All of the Persona traits are there. It even actually brings in a bit of the Shin Megami Tensei thing of you being able to charm personas, so you're not just limited to your one persona as in previous Persona games, which makes for interesting things because then you confuse them in the same way you can in Shin Megami Tensei.
Personas are something you battle with?
Yeah, essentially, think of them like you have your main character and then it's almost kind of you use them to conduct magic. Magic in Persona works in a very different way. Yes, you do have like, SP, it's called, which is the equivalent to MP in any other game, where you use your Persona's power to attack these things. You can recharge that with potions and whatever. But then also, magic works like that, so you have limited magic power. However, if you want your persona to do a physical attack, it then drains some of your health. So it's like a risk-reward of like, hey, I can do a much heavier hitting attack, but it will also take health off me. Do I want to do that on this boss or whatever?
Yeah.
Very good game so far. Looking forward to playing more of it. It's actually the first game in a long while, other than Zelda, that's gone, hey, I want to be playing this right now.
How does it go from being a high school drama to being something that involves magic and these personas and dungeons and such?
Well,
the dungeons, what are they? Are they just like a regular building? Is it all set in a reality, or is there like an underworld?
There's like a demon realm that you are transported to. There's a hook in this game. I won't give it away because it's a bit of a spoiler for the start of the game, but there's a way that you are transported to like an alternate reality that is where this you have demon to fight. It's the same in other Persona games where you take into they're called palaces instead of dungeons, and they're manifestations of perhaps a bad character's innermost desires. So in Persona 4...
you're battling inner demons. Is this...
Yeah, kind of. In this game, you're more battling like the desires of a person. In this case, it's a teacher who's kind of a bit of an egomaniac. And so his dungeon, his palace, is a personification of him thinking he is the king of this school. And so he is torturing people. He has a castle. All of the demons there look like knights, like a king's knight and all this kind of stuff. And then obviously you're going into the real world and you're interacting with the actual character.
Yeah.
And he's retaliating against you because he has bad feelings because to him this palace is a dream. It's quite
How do you
deep.
Transport yourself to world? It's not like at night time when you go to sleep you're in the world, is it? It's like there's...
well, in Persona 4, for example, I can talk about that game because it's been out for a long time.
Yeah.
You were transported there through a thing called the Midnight Channel. Is that on at 12 midnight
so
your
it is
television
a
will turn on?
thing.
Yes.
So there's a day and a night.
Yes,
night is where you do the fantastical stuff, and day is where you do the more real world.
It seems
things.
like, to be honest with you, you can kind of go into these dungeons perhaps at any time. There's been set beats in the story where I've been able to so far, and I'm not sure if that's to train me how to play Persona. Because in the previous games, you could just go to the dungeons whenever.
Yeah, they say this one's quite user-friendly if you're new to the series.
Yes.
It's quite an easy one to get into.
But there's also, like I said, a lot of the things like the demon mechanics are generally from the more hardcore Shin Megami Tensei games, which I would say are perhaps a little bit deeper in terms of how they can interact and the gameplay, kind of like Pokemon Catch Them All style aspect of how that works. But all in all, really enjoying it. It's a very good game. I don't know if I enjoy it as much as Persona 4 yet.
Which you really like.
I really liked, but I never beat.
Okay.
But
you played that on PS2?
I played that on PS2 briefly with my mate Aaron, and I was like, I need to buy a copy of this, and I never did, and then I played it mainly on Vita.
Aha, yeah.
So I do not know.
That was Golden, was it?
It
Persona
was
4 Golden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not know the original voice of Chie, but I also have Persona 1, 2, and 3 on the Vita as well. So through the PSP store.
Okay.
So I do own the previous Persona
Were
games.
they released? The first one, what console was that released on?
Persona originally, Persona 1 and 2 were released on the original PlayStation. I do not believe we got them in Europe. Persona 1 and Persona 2 were released in America.
Oh, right.
And then there was a third Persona game, because apparently the second one kind of released in a Pokemon-esque fashion where there was two sides of a story. The West didn't get that, from my understanding. I think the PSP was the first time that was released in English.
So, if you wanted to get involved with the Persona series, and maybe you're on a bit of a budget, let's say, maybe you couldn't buy Persona 5, maybe you'd want to just try it out on a cheaper price point. Is there a game you'd recommend?
I would say get Persona 4 for the original, for the PS2. New copies will set you back about £15.
Okay.
Persona 1 and Persona 2 to import from the States are very pricey games.
But
They're
if
in
you were
about
to
£120
download them,
mark. I think you can, if you have a PSP or access to a PlayStation Vita, you can get them for around £10, I think.
But maybe the fourth one you say is
I would say
best.
Persona 4 is perhaps the most revered in the series so far. Everyone seems to be in love with Persona 5. I think if you're new to JRPGs, I would say Persona 4 is perhaps an easier getting on point because you just play it.
Or if you're like me, and maybe you appreciate the graphical style and the characters and such, but you don't like RPGs, you can also play Persona 4 Arena.
Yes, you can. Which is a fighting game, which is also
a fighting game.
Quality.
Yeah.
I do
Might
like
want
it.
to check that one out.
Yeah.
Super duper.
Indeed.
Sounds great.
Speaking of Super, briefly showed you a little bit of SUPERHOT. I finally have a copy of that game, Tom Parry.
Yeah. I like that. That was great first impressions of that game. And actually, it felt it didn't feel as intense as I thought it might, actually. It was quite relaxed, more strategic, more methodical,
yes.
I felt. And I really appreciate that about it.
While you were watching me and you were just like, oh God, this seems quite slow, because I was like creeping around corners and trying to do these things. But it's quite fun. How would you describe SUPERHOT to those who don't know?
First-person shooter where time only moves when you move.
Yes.
That is the general concept of the game. People want to shoot you, you got to shoot them before they shoot you.
Yes.
And it is, as I say before, it's a methodical thinking person's FPS.
Yes. It's the kind of game that I've wanted since I was about 7. I've always wanted a game where it would be like a tactical first-person shooter where
plot out your moves.
You plot out your moves.
Like chess or something.
Yeah, it's
not quite like chess.
Everyth's moving very slowly around you, and then you react.
You've got to think ahead. You've got to think about where you're going to end up, I guess. If you're going to move up there, you're going to end up in relation to when the next person is going to jump out and hit you. It's all, I guess, scripted. It's just you've got to...
Well, no, it isn't. I mean...
It isn't.
Sometimes enemies have different weapons.
So it's not scripted. So every time it's not the same.
I mean, you always have enemies like kind of entering from roughly the same places. But I mean... They can do different things. I mean, if you knock a gun out of someone's hand, they're gonna try and grab the nearest weapon to them to defend themselves.
It feels like a game of trial and error.
No,
actually, where it could have been in its most simplest form, it could have been that.
Yes,
you just learn the patterns and go through. But it actually feels a lot more organic than that.
It definitely does
when you're playing it.
It's also got this really interesting HUD mechanic where you're running like a DOS version of Windows within the game, and you're talking to your friends on that, and it's all taken. I'm about halfway through the game. The game's only about 2 hours long, apparently. It's not a very long game, but I don't think it needs to be much longer than it is.
Yeah, I think that gave it a little bit more depth than it would have had otherwise.
Yeah, and so your character's talking to this other guy, and he's just like, oh, well, you're just shooting red guys. Like, what's the aim of this? And he's like, oh, all will become clear.
But it's like you're playing a game. You're playing a game of people playing a game.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a super good game. I'm glad finally I got it. A big thank you to the people who made SUPERHOT, who I've forgotten the name of the studio.
For finally getting your copy.
For finally getting through their Kickstarter messages to go, hey, we missed this. Sorry. If you still need a key, send an email to this address. And they literally emailed me back within 5 minutes. So.
Got it. Whoa! Everything's going
Look at you binging.
Messages. I picked up a few more games, mostly digitally. There's a PlayStation sale on at the moment.
Yeah.
Comprehensive sale, actually. There's 600 titles, 400, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff available.
There wasn't really a lot in there I wanted.
Really, I picked up The Bridge on recommendation from our friend Alice, who said she's really into that game. And she's not a huge gamer.
No.
But she's like this puzzle game called The Bridge.
I'll have a look into that.
Sort of a physics-based moving around... I haven't played it, just you made it sound very interesting, and the trailer looked very nice.
Yeah.
Graphically, very unique, black and white aesthetic.
Yeah. I'm very interested in everything. I still haven't picked that up.
I've heard that name, but I've not.
It's essentially, a game about being, is how it's been described to me. You start off as like a bird, and then the bird might poo, and then you're the poo, and then you could be the mountain that the poo lands on. And
oh wow! I've always wanted to be the poo.
There's a philosopher who's talking over the experience, and it's kind of like a guided thing.
You know, I saw that and thought, it can't be that interesting.
Yeah, but I've heard it's a pretty interesting game. I've heard there's not much like it.
Well, yeah, The Bridge is a physics-based puzzle.
Yeah,
I think. Mighty Number 9.
Yes.
Was $3.99.
Yes. Probably the price it should have been to begin with.
So I was curious enough to pick that up. Kinetica is a PS2 game that was never released outside the US. It's developed by Santa Monica Studios. It's a futuristic racing game where your characters are all... It's not actually controlling a vehicle, you're controlling a character on wheels. So like those suits, you know, where you could, that like rollerblades, but you stick them on your body.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know the ones you mean.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called. But that's actually very nice game. Looks great on the PS4.
Yeah.
And I'd recommend that. It's very cheap, like $3.99 or something. I bought an RPG.
Do you buy Okaji?
Yeah, because it was very cheap.
I'm very curious about that
And
game.
I looked how much it was for physical copy, and I was like, well, I'll never pay that for it.
Yeah, me neither.
Like $3.99 or whatever it was, I'm like, that's probably worth checking out.
It wasn't released in Europe, right?
No, again, it's another one that was only released in the States and Japan, I presume.
Because I wanted it, and then it never came out here.
Yeah. It's great that we're getting the opportunity now to buy these games when available. Rise of the Kensai as well, which is a sequel to Mark of Kensai, is also available to download. So it's great. I'm really happy about this. So
can you play a bit of Okaji before the next podcast?
Yeah. I'll give it a go.
I'm curious to see what it's like.
I will. And that's coming from a guy who doesn't really have to take a lot of convincing to like RPGs, so it'll be a good recommendation.
Jesus, next podcast, RPG warning. I apologise in advance.
I bought Korg Synth for the 3DS because it was on offer.
Yeah.
And it's not easy for someone who's never used a synthesizer like this to work out. It is high level simulation.
I feel it's very robust, actually.
It's very robust, but I couldn't work out how to record anything.
No.
So I was playing along with the beats I was making, and I had the little keyboard up, and I was playing along with it. And then I was like, well, how do I record that? There's so much you can do and so much you can manipulate.
Yes, it is the actual instrument.
Yeah, it is slightly overwhelming. You can even plug in the wires.
Well, that's what I've heard. Like, it's best to record through output.
Yeah.
Like, to put it out to a garage band or something and use it as an actual synthesizer.
Oh, sure. Well, it's pretty good. It was £12. It's better than its £25 it usually is on download. So I thought I'd get that to have a mess around with. Need for Speed Most Wanted on the Vita was £7.49 on Shop 2.
Do you own that game on every format now?
Well, I have it on the Wii U and the Vita, and Claire has it on the PS3.
Because I remember there being a PS3 copy around ours at some point, or you buying one for her.
Yes, it's Claire's, yeah.
Okay.
But, between us, we have everything but the Xbox 360 version, I suppose.
Would you say it's your most wanted title now for the 360?
No, it's a very good game, though. I mean, I've got Burnout Paradise on the 360, so it's the equivalent of pretty much without the police. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. We did play Mario and Sonic at the Olympics before the podcast, and we can say that was good fun, I think.
Oh, you dropped it.
I'm going to go as far as saying it's good, simple fun.
Yeah, I'm quite actually taken aback by how good that rugby game is.
Yeah, that was very playable, wasn't it?
There's a Rugby Sevens game in there, which I've talked about wanting to play on this podcast before when Tom bought it, and we finally got the chance today. Actually, all right.
Yeah.
I don't like how the game I'm going to talk about rugby. I apologise to anyone who has no interest. I don't like how the game handles rucks. Obviously, when you ruck in rugby, that is essentially when two players kind of are over a ball and they're trying to push the other one over so someone can take the ball and then throw it to your side.
Mm-hmm.
The ruck is automatically won by who commits more people to the ruck.
But you can't commit.
But you cannot commit people to the ruck.
Well, not that we know of.
Not that we could figure out.
It could be the game is simplified so much.
Yes, that whoever is near that player will go with him.
Yeah.
And then so the ruck happens, and if the ruck is actually at a standstill, that is the only time you will do a scrum. There doesn't seem to be penalties. And scrums are, as you would expect, you literally have to hammer the A button as fast as you can to win the scrum.
But this game doesn't seem to have any waggle controls whatsoever.
No, it doesn't.
Everything's done by button taps.
Yeah.
And you can do everything on a Wii remote, believe it or not.
Yes, you
so
can.
That gives you an idea how stripped back and simple the games are. But actually, I think it works in this game's favour because everything's very easy to play.
Yeah.
And there's quite a bit of variety in the games we played as well. We played the archery.
The archery was fun. The gymnastics was surprisingly all right. Yeah.
Was a fun, very basic rhythm game.
I picked it sarcastically, but it was actually all right.
The table tennis was a little bit confusing. It didn't. You feel like table tennis is actually a very simple concept.
Yes.
But this one felt a bit weird.
It was the worst table tennis game I've ever played.
Oh my gosh.
It is.
I just wondered if maybe need to adjust to it.
I just don't think it was a good experience. Essentially, from what we could figure out, it didn't matter how far back you were from the table, as long as you were in line with the ball and you held down A, you would hit it.
Even if the ball was going way out,
yeah,
you'd press the button and you'd suddenly be there and you'd hit it.
But so it would never fall short of the table like in actual ping pong, or you'd never like welt it. And it would
I guess
go
they're
over
just trying to make the game super friendly.
Yes,
maybe it
in
works
doing
in its
so,
detriment
they kind of
in this,
screw it up.
In this case. But yeah,
BMX was fun as well. We played some BMX.
Yeah, that was great fun. And the game is consistently bright and colourful, and you've got all the Sonic and Mario characters you could probably want in there, I'd say.
Get your Mii's in there, you can give them new outfits.
It's good. So if you thought maybe the Mario and Sonic Olympic games maybe had their day, kind of over that after the Wii, then this is pretty good.
This game got slated when it came out.
Did it
and
really?
to be honest with you, I'm considering just buying it for the Rugby Sevens.
I think it's because maybe it's so simple, but sometimes simplicity isn't so bad.
No, I would fucking love a full-blown Mario 7's rugby game, because that would be awesome.
Great pick up and play. Got kids, want a family game, want a good multiplayer game, then...
Super Mario Scrummage. I'm all for it.
Very good. Yeah. We didn't play 1-2 Switch. We had the choice to play...
we had the option of the two, and we were like, well, let's play this, because... In all fairness, as much as I'm curious about 1-2 Switch rugby, so there we go.
We go.
I'm playing to stereotypes. Bought and played anything else, or is that it for you?
I think that's a good place to leave it for this episode.
I think so, especially as you've got to run off and see Ghost in the Shell, which I quite enjoyed. Okay, cool. Let's wrap it up. If you have enjoyed this podcast, remember to share it around with people you think may be interested, and if you yourself do like it, there is a variety of places you can find it.
You can express how much you like it as well.
You can give us some cheeky ratings in a certain Apple store, but I will get to that in a moment. If you do like this podcast, you can find it in a variety of places. As I said, you can find it on
iTunes,
where
Stitcher.
You can give us a cheeky rate and subscribe. There's Stitcher. There is blastprocess.com.
There's TomandMattAttack.com as well.
There is /podcast. Though I believe you can just type in TomandMattAttack.com now, because I think I've fixed how to do that.
I think you can. Yeah. I do it every time whenever I
go
on there.
Give you the podcast, which is nice.
Whenever I go on there and listen to all our podcasts.
Yes.
No, it's whenever I make the posts I put on blastprocess.com. I can link it.
Other than that, you can find us on social media, the usual places. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/TomandMattAttack.
Yeah. We'd love a little bit of interaction. So if you have any thoughts on this episode and any of the games we've talked about, then please do just drop us a comment. We will reply to your comments.
We will indeed.
It's nice to know people listening and create some user interaction. Is that right? The users of our podcast.
Engage with our brand. Yeah, you can also do that on Twitter.
It'd be nice to
TMAcast.
chat to you, basically, we're saying.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't have any of those social media, you can leave a comment on the blog posts on TomandMattAttack.com.
Yeah.
Cool. And that is the end of this podcast.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us.
Exactly.
I don't think we say that enough, but
no, we
we
don't,
really do
but
appreciate it.
Obviously, we massively appreciate everything you guys do. I'm going to give a massive Top Mat Attack shout out now to our good friend, the Retro Hunter, Ali. He has literally, today, as we were recording this, opened his own store in Lee.
Congratulations. I think the storefront looks beautiful.
I can't comment. I'd be slightly biased. No, it does look amazing. Seeing it and going, wow, I can't believe Ali's got his own store now is... It's a sight to behold. I can't wait to actually go there. I was hoping to go this weekend, but yeah. Between
it's a little
house
difficult when
saving
you
and Japan.
Also live in a different country.
Yeah, it was a bit tough to do. But no man, I'll go hopefully in the summer and we'll get some car booties in, is the plan. Cool. So yeah, I will put a link in the description to this podcast if you're viewing it on TomAttack.com, where you can find the Facebook page to Ali's, because I don't want to screw up the address. I know it's in Lee, which is just towards Essex, outside of London, but go there, support him. He's a nice guy, friend of the podcast, and yeah, until next week, folks, I will wish you adieu and say to you one important phrase. Tom Parry, take it away.
I think it's game on, isn't it?
It is game on.
Game on.
You are correct.